just after 6, well, it's just about 6:15 in the morning, Newfoundland time. And, yeah, so I couldn't sleep any later, and I decided, screw it, might as well get up. And, let me just get the angle a bit better so I show off the tool wall a little bit more. I'm somewhat proud of that. But, yeah, so what I intended to do last night, of course, didn't happen because, well, or actually, all of what I intended to do yesterday really didn't happen because everybody I know and their uncle was streaming yesterday. So I decided I might as well try streaming this morning. Let me get live chat opened up. And I am literally just waking up and having my first coffee and my first cigarette. But I figure I might as well work. If I'm going to do any sort of physical stuff, it's going to have to be early in the morning because yesterday it was so unbearably hot and humid that it just wasn't something I could do. 27 degrees and 98% humidity is pretty brutal on me. I can work in that kind of weather if I have to. The beautiful thing about being my own boss, I didn't have to. And technically I'm not really my own boss because you guys are kind of important. And Stormy is in first. Hello and good morning, darling. Hello, love. Well, I can now shut off that alarm since I no longer need to call my girlfriend to wake her. Or, well, she's been up for a while as well. And of course, the message is, what are you doing up so early? I'm generally up at daylight anyway. And there's your response. And good. Okay, kill that. Let's get rid of that alarm as I don't need to be interrupted in an hour. Just to shut off my phone. I'm up so early, as I was explaining to folks, because I want to get, excuse me, I want to get some of the work I meant to do yesterday done today. And I didn't get it done yesterday for 2 reasons, really. Everybody I knew and their uncle was streaming, and, well, it's not hot at this hour, so, yeah, it was uncomfortably humid and hot yesterday in the afternoon when I would normally have been streaming, except that Bez and Trim were streaming, and then Monkey was streaming with his 48 Chronicles, and then when I intended to stream in the evening, I of course forgot that Is the Eunuch streams her Discordant Dragons show every Monday. So, yeah. Yeah, and I'm looking a little rough around the eyes. But, believe me, I'm actually awake and mostly functional. Excuse me. And, yeah, it is early today, Stormy. And I do actually like occasionally doing random hour streams, because once in a while, someone who is subbed to me, who doesn't get to see me live a lot, actually manages to catch on. So I'm okay with it. And you guys will actually get to see me do some physical stuff today. I've got to take that wood out of there, clear it of spiders, and I'm also going to strip at least one surface on that knife block, which is a piece of donated wood, which I think is oak, but I really need to get the surface cleaned up a little more before I can be 100% sure. But I'm pretty sure it's oak. So let's see, what else have I got to do for today? I think that's pretty much it. So I'm going to move a few things around here real quick. And you guys will get to see me do at least a little bit of work in a minute. That's a good hot coffee. Okay, what are we looking at for chatters? Good. It's just Stormy this morning, and she's been kind enough to already throw me a like. Thanks, babe. Since this is a stream that can be watched in the future, I will get some shilling out of the way now, and let's see. Let me get the entire thing in my head ready to run. Okay. If you are watching on YouTube, please subscribe and hit the bell icon and click all. If you are watching on Rumble, long in the future, well, possibly not long in the future, do please follow. If you are interested in supporting me on a monthly basis, you can subscribe to my channel for $5 a month, I believe is the lowest amount. If you don't feel comfortable doing that, Stormy has subscribed everywhere she can, and I have to give Stormy her reward. There's my shoulders. But if you don't want to do either of those things on YouTube or Rumble, you can send me a PayPal through my email address. The link that's in my description should work. I'm not 100% sure why it doesn't, and I'm waiting to hear back from PayPal as to why it doesn't. What else am I looking for? If you're in Canada, you can send me a direct money, an Interac money transfer through my email address that is connected to my bank. I have a Subscribestar, so if you want to support me in a tiered way. Now, the very highest tier on my Subscribestar is a bit of a gag, but if you're willing to pay me $250 a month, I am absolutely willing to sit down one-on-one with you for a half an hour whenever you'd like. Let me see. And there are different tiered rewards. I have to be honest, it's been so long since I looked at the tiers on my Subscribestar, I don't even know what the rewards are at this point. What else? Oh, and my merch store. I do have a merch shop as well on Redbubble, which I haven't added any new designs to lately, but I plan to add something soon. And I do believe that's everything. Did I miss anything, Stormy? Stormy will, of course, kindly inform me because she's the ultimate cheerleader, whether or not I've forgotten anything. And I'm going to mute the microphone and turn the camera away for a moment because I have to clear something rather sharp from my throat. Okay, I'm not dead. I just, wow. I'm alive! Woo! Look at me, I'm your dancing monkey. Wait, no, it's my other friend. Oh, I got it all. Excellent, thanks, babe. How's the sound this morning? I know the camera's getting screwed chroma-wise, but can't do much about that. Let's get the garbage can out of the way. What is that on the floor? Looks like a plug of something. Ah, okay. Okay. Oh, I did miss a chat. Good, and the picture is clear. Yes. The picture is generally clear. Let me put that over there. That's my lovely technologically advanced ashtray. And for a guy who doesn't like the color blue, I have an awful lot of blue things. Blue just happens to be a very common color, unfortunately. Make sure I'm not hanging anything out and I can stand up. There we go. Okay. Okay then. Let's see. We will bring, since I'm going to be working in that direction, I actually need to move that coffee out of there. Because, believe it or not, scraping paint into your food is not really a good choice. So the coffee will go behind the camera. And that will go there. And I will actually be wearing gloves for this today, not because I want to protect my hands, but because I want to keep them clean. At least for this section anyway. I'm just going to take the paint off of this surface with a scraper and get a good look at what's under there. This has been clamped since last night. You can see that I've got just a stop block here just to hold these two and to hold this, as the irregular shape was pushing that way anyway. I didn't really need to no, actually, sorry, I'm a little scattered this morning. I absolutely did need a block to put here to keep the tension on the vise and to keep this from sliding back and forth. So this is kind of an awkward angle to get it. Whoa, okay. I forgot that I didn't have the table pushed all the way back. So if I'm going to brace that with my hip, I better... There we go. And I'm not being overly vigorous with this for a couple of reasons. Not the least of which being it's very early in the morning and I don't wish to disturb my neighbors. Okay, so that is definitely, I'm still at a loss for exactly what kind of wood this is. I suspect it may be two species put together, so I need to get a little bit cleaner into it. This definitely looks like birch on this section to me, but as I'm not 100% sure, I'm going to scrape a little more away and get actual clean wood here. I would say that's birch. Now, I thought this end was oak yesterday, so I need to get a little more of that cleaned as well. And I suspect I'm not 100% sure. Now, I did point out to folks yesterday that, or to Stormy last night when I was talking to her, that this could in fact be a combination of different species and also species I've never worked with before, because this could have been made in Asia for all I know. But it does look like birch to me. So the question, of course, is does it smell like birch? And once I have a good piece clean, I can actually do a burn and sniff test on it and tell you for certain if it's birch, because the area of Newfoundland I grew up in, there was a lot of birch burned in people's wood stoves. Okay, I think I've got a good part of that cleaned up now to the point that I can take a scrape out of it and see. Let's go with here. So that piece. And remember, kids, if you're going to play with fire, try and do it as safely as you possibly can. Oh, didn't even get in there. So, just got that clamped into the needle noses. And good old fire. You know, generic homemade fire. That's definitely not birch. What the hell is that? No, that's definitely not birch. And one thing to keep in mind as well, I work with a lot of wood. And if I'm playing with fire, I'm going to be really careful that it's out before it hits the ground. And it is. I'm not 100% sure what species this is, honestly. I think when I get it cleared a bit more, I might see a more obvious grain pattern. But it does not look like oak to me at this point. It may be... Oh. Pretty sure it's ash. Took me a minute to remember what that smelled like when it burns. But I'm pretty sure this is actually some species of ash, given the grain and the color and the scent of it when it burns. Like an idiot, I didn't bother to check. Okay, no new chat. Anyway, I'm going back to work. You guys can watch what I'm doing. Just going to finish cleaning up this side with the scraper, and then I may flip it over and do the same. I'm actually kind of shocked that they would use a piece of wood like this for it, though. This was clearly laminated. This is 3 pieces with a darker piece in the middle. At least I think it is. You don't usually see heartwood, sapwood delineation that sharp, so... yeah, no, it definitely is, because there's a knot on this edge here. That's cut partly off. I'll just clear that up for you guys so you can see that a little better. Yeah, you can see the knot here now. Bring the camera down just a little and get it in close. Let's see. Here we are. Yes, yes. Okay, so right here, right in this area right here, you can see about a half a knot. So the dark line and the light line are indicating separation of laminate layers, and this would be 3 probably plank, 3 pieces of plank of wood that have been grafted together. There's probably a very thin layer of glue in between there. And for those of you who don't work with wood a lot, ash and birch can look very similar. And ash is almost in between birch and oak in terms of coloration and sometimes grain pattern. You guys even seeing what I'm doing here? Yes, okay, good. Now, obviously, there's one deep gouge right here, and a few others. The good thing about this, though, is that if I do choose to keep working with this piece, I have a planer that I can run this through once I get it put together. The planer, that is. And I also have multiple tools for surfacing. So I won't have screwed myself up for being able to keep the work in good shape. There we go. Now, brace yourselves for some noise. This won't be quite as bad as when I go to put it back in the vise. So I'll get my dirty brush, and the garbage can is right there, so and of course you don't need to brush this 100% perfect right away because you're going to be making more of a mess anyway, so that's not bad. Just enough to keep the mess from building up too much on the floor. And I can actually hang, actually that will go exactly back where it belongs because it's better to have it out of the way and exactly where it belongs than to keep it close and lose track of it. Just adjust those dogs a little bit. For those of you who are wondering, that is a dog. It's also been called stops, stays, pins, but I'm a dog person, so I like calling them dogs because they're handy and they're good boys. Now, as I said before, there may be some noise from this, so let's see. That looks good and solid. Okay. And now it's really just the same thing on the other side. And then I will be, at some point, I will be taking, actually I may leave this side as it's relatively unblemished. I may leave this alone and put this on the bandsaw. Actually, I'll explain why. Excuse me. Okay, so let me get the camera back on me so I can actually see what I'm doing at the same time I'm showing it to you guys. So what I might do is take this and put it on the bandsaw, and the reason being I want to take off this gap, or take it down to this gap, take this layer off. Morning, Tosti. Nice to see you. And Tosti actually subscribed yesterday, so it's good to see my friends from Discord are popping in. Tosti is actually an old friend of the Sultans of Shadilay podcast. And so, as I was saying, I'm going to be taking this surface, this one here, and I'll probably put this on the bandsaw once the bandsaw is assembled, and take down to the end of these gaps here. This is an old knife block, so this is, it's going to be torn apart anyway. I'll be honest there. But what I will probably do is take that down, maybe turn it into a coaster or something for myself. But inside those slots, there's actually, there were some plastic collars for the knives to sit in. And in trying to remove those, I ended up actually breaking the plastic collars and a few pieces got stuck down in there. And I do have tools that would get them out, but I like the idea of using the bandsaw to retrieve them more. And then once I've done that, it's a question of what I want to do with this particular piece. I may, and I stress may very heavily, I may turn this into some sort of... I could see this being a charging stand, actually. Those slots need slight expansion to put different devices in there while they're charging. So, maybe I'll do that. In any case, I'm actually done with this for this morning. So this is actually going to go on the workbench. And it has started raining. Interesting. Well, that changes some of my plans for this morning. You guys are about to get to see what Newfoundland looks like in the rain. And yes, this is the door that's for sale, so if anybody's interested, 40 bucks. Though I'm willing to negotiate. There we are. Now, I'm going to try turning off the light and see how the lighting works in here. It's actually not too bad. Okay. So that'll save me some electricity at least. Let's see. So I need to do a bit of cleanup on the floor first. And I have a drill press that needs moved. So you guys get to, well, you can look out the window or the door for a minute. I guess that drill press is going to have to come over here. And this is one of those pieces that I need to redistribute. Okay. Actually, I'm not happy with that lighting, so there we go. And I see there's some chats come in. Just a moment. Let's see. Tusty says, nice to meet Stormy. Nice to meet her. Stormy says, nice to meet him too. Going to get another toast. Miserable. Back. Now coffee is being made too. Coffee is the nectar of the gods. Java is good this morning. Yeah. Oh, I found another project I didn't complete. I was making a handle for a steel and forgot about it. That might be something you guys can watch me finish today, actually. Let's see. I have some blocks here, which I suspect I was intending to laminate and put on that. In any case, that'll go back in there. That's my utility / ashtray block. Tools that have to be put away. Those will sit there. These are just random tools that I've gotten out of various things. This probably came out of some piece of IKEA furniture that had to be put together. And I suspect that's where this one came from as well. So those are just going to sit kind of on the junk pile for the time being. Until I figure out exactly where I'm putting them. A bit of loose sandpaper. Okay, so I need to get this brushed off and cleaned. That's my shame block. Those of you who know, well, as the saying goes, if you know, you know. This is for drilling. If I'm punching something or whatever, and I don't want to mar the surface behind the piece I'm working on, put that in between. Yeah, it's getting a bit rough, but it's still functional for its purpose. So that also stays on the general use table. And my coffee is still over there, that's good. Okay. I do apologize for scratching up my ear as much as I do, if it bothers anybody. But I have a condition called psoriasis, and pretty much the only place it manifests on a regular basis is on the very backs of my ears. Now I'm going to sit down. I'm going to sit down, have a cigarette, finish my coffee, and have a chat with you folks. Oh, actually, right before I do that, I'm going to move that drill press since I actually have my gloves on hand. Come here, you miserable. Get you cleaned off. And yes, I do talk to myself and my tools on a fairly regular basis. You'll find that woodworkers tend to be a little bit of a strange bunch. We're half artist, half scientist, so really not much of a shock. Of course, my broom is currently out of reach, so just want to clean up the area where the drill press is going to sit, so that when I go to sweep everywhere else, I won't have to lift it again. Save myself some effort. Okay. Now let's try this again. Yeah, those two machines had to get moved. That table's got to get moved forward. Okay. Let's have a sit down, shall we? Okay, there we go. I'm a little close to the camera. Let's move the camera back a little. There we go. Let's see, biggest cheerleader, his girlfriend. Nice to meet you. There we go. Okay. So Tosti is wondering how Stormy knows me. Stormy is in fact my girlfriend. We've been dating, let's see, August, 9 months. Just about 9 months. And yeah, it's going very well. We're actually looking at moving in together. I think I've been the ongoing source of romantic vicariousness for quite a few people of late. Definitely IKEA furniture. Yeah, that is the sort of tool that comes with IKEA furniture, or any sort of flat pack stuff. Stormy is in fact my biggest cheerleader and my stalker. That is actually, Tosti, if you have a stalker, that's one of the best ways to deal with them. Just sleep with them and start dating them. It gets rid of the stalker thing right away. Stormy wants to know if I'm going to unbox my new tools today. That is part of the plan. If I can't get them assembled, at the very least, I'm going to try to unbox them. Tosti is wondering... Oh, no. Moving together soon, yep, that's true. Are we looking for a different place? No, I'm going to be moving into Stormy's place, and of course Tosti brings up the issue of why I haven't moved yet, which is the shed, and I'd better bring the shed. That is an option. Tosti is wondering if one of the items behind me is a machete. It is, in fact. That is a very, well, it's a common brand machete. It's a Tramontina. Fairly common as a, wow, that's loud. Actually kind of nice. Well, I'll leave that angle up and I'll join you guys in chat because that's actually kind of calming. And I'm not going to say anything for a little while at least, because this would make a great ASMR clip if I can get it looped properly. Okay, I think that's long enough for the ASMR side of things. Yeah, I was pointing out to Tosti, I've never played XCOM. I do like the graphics. Some of the one of my friends a long while ago had actually created a character for me that I never bothered to play. And yeah, I was going to point out as well that Tosti is in Sweden. Let me see here. Bit of gray cloud, bit of sun shining through. What is it? It's late morning in Sweden, I believe, if not early afternoon. If I have it right, you guys should be about 5 hours, 4.5, 5.5 hours ahead of us. Newfoundland is minus 2:30 on GMT. The sequel to Xenonauts. Oh, a new sequel to Xenonauts 2 came out in early access today. Okay. Yeah, you will notice that Tosti is, in fact, much more of a gamer than I am. I'm still playing Skyrim, Tosti. Oh, based on the original XCOM games. Okay. Wait, now maybe I'm confused then. When did XCOM, like the original XCOM games, come out? Are they older or just from the 2010s or? And I do apologize for blind. Whoa! Yeah, I'm pale. You may notice this. What's really disturbing is this is actually tan. That's a tan on the back of my arms here. This is tan. That's not obviously, but this is. Oh. And Stormy is coming my way in an hour. Excellent. Around 94. Oh, okay. Yeah. In 94, I don't... Let's see. I graduated high school in 94, so I would have been playing... I'm a hardcore, probably die-hard console peasant, for the most part. Let me see. What would I have been playing in 94? That have been the original PlayStation? I don't think so. I think I was probably still playing Super NES. Yeah, no, I grew up in what you would call an underprivileged family, I suppose, a working class family, and didn't really have. Okay, I'm going to turn that a little away from me so that I'm not blowing the chroma out when I tip my head down. I'll just put the lovely natural light back on screen, and see about console release dates. Just so you guys know I'm actually still here, I'll smoke. Okay. Console generations. There. So the first console, or the first major console release, was the Magnavox Odyssey in 1973. I did play one of those. I'll bring me back again. I did play one of those. Let's see. The next one was Pong, which I've never played on the home version. I played arcade versions of Pong. Fairchild Channel F, never heard of it, let alone played it. The Atari 2600. ColecoVision? Really? Oh, the 2600 came out in 76, 7, 8. So a couple of years after I was born. Mostly Atari was what I played when I was a kid. The Intellivision, I did play with an Intellivision a little bit. ColecoVision was the game system that we used to rent. The oldest thing Tosti says he's played is an NES. That was actually the third or fourth console that I played, if you count home PCs like the Commodore VIC-20 and the Commodore 64. I never played an Atari 5200. Didn't know they made one. The NES was 80, 1, 2, 3, 4, 84, 85, that era. I heard of something called the Master System. I don't remember what that was. Atari 7600 I never played. TurboGrafx 16. I remember that being a huge release and hyped intensely in the media. And Tosti says his first console was a Game Boy Color, which was technically a handheld and not a console. Promethean Healing is in. Hey, Heels, how you doing? I'm doing good. He says, hey, buddy. We're talking about video game consoles now because, well, console peasant. Let's see. 3DO, I played the 3DO. Sega Genesis, I played. The SNES, I actually owned one of those. The Atari Jaguar, I remember that was a handheld as well. Handheld console, Mr. Purist. Yeah, sorry. I'm being technical. The Sega Saturn, I actually had... I believe a friend of mine had a Sega Saturn, ended up buying 1 or 2 games for it, and of course then it went straight out. Well, actually, yeah, I know. Hey, we're nerding out here. Original PlayStation came out in 95, so in 94 I probably would have been playing the Super Nintendo, the Super Famicom. Tosti says, hello to Promethean Heels. Sega is awesome. I remember the old Sega games, and then when Sega Genesis came out, I had, me and a friend of mine went kind of hog on that. Phantasy Star, I think, was our favorite game. PlayStation 2. I had 2 PlayStation 2s that ended up crapping out. so soon after purchase, but just after warranty and return periods, that I ended up jumping to the Xbox, and I've never gone back since. I had an original Xbox, and I've had an Xbox, what was the second generation? 360, and I play Skyrim now on the Xbox One. I did play some GameCube as well. Let's see, PlayStation 3, the Wii. Okay, well, one of my nephews has actually both my nephews have Wiis. But my oldest nephew now, he's an Xbox One kid. Though I think he does a little bit of, I think he still does a little bit of PC gaming. Promethean is asking if I ever played any of the Burnout games. I did, actually. One of my friends in the late 90s, early 2000s had a PC, and she had Burnout 2, I think it was, and Carmageddon, or possibly Carmageddon 2. And those two games I actually really enjoyed. Just before I moved to Alberta, one of my roommates had a PC with Unreal 3, and that was where I first started playing a lot of FPS. Heels says we could talk for ages about this. So many titles, so many consoles. Yeah. One of the games I really kind of miss playing, and it was a great party game, was Joust on the original Atari, which I also had a knockoff Atari called a Gemini console. And this was back in the era where the game companies weren't super crazy about suing each other about equipment and things like that. 360 was much better than PS3, says Tosti. I would have to agree, simply based on Burnout is amazing. Love those games. It had Swedish voiceover. Oh, that's awesome. If I ever get a chance to play, sorry about the chroma. If I ever get a chance to play Burnout again, I'll try and find the Swedish voiceover for it. I've got to stop flicking my thumb in front of the camera. Heel says, awesome Joust. That's the one with balloons, right? No, you're kind of riding what looks like an ostrich, and your power button, or your action button. You're talking about a joystick that's literally a stick and a button. And you just move with the joystick, and you push the button. It's kind of how to put it? It's a combat-oriented version of Flappy Bird, where Flappy Bird was a side-scroller that you just had to hit one button to keep them moving. Joust was the same sort of thing, where when you hit the button, it would jump or stay airborne, move in the air, things like that. But your directional control was just in your stick. And there was a certain degree of strategy, because if you managed to put the lances together, you would be pushed apart. You're basically carrying a lance, riding what amounts to an ostrich that can kind of jump, flap, fly, Flappy Bird sort of movement. It's kind of ironic that I'm describing it using a far newer game. But essentially the goal was to hit the other guy with your lance and kill him, take his life, or his lives from him. It was a very enjoyable game, and I do apologize again. I keep flicking my thumb in front of my camera. Burnout Revenge that had Swedish voice and text. B3 Takedown is awesome as a party racer. Spin-off kind of thing of Joust. Okay. Balloons. I think there may have been a mode in Joust where you went after balloons, but I'm not 100% sure. Stomp on people and your life was balloons. Okay, no, that's definitely not what I'm thinking of after all, though. Where's my coffee? There's my coffee. Let me move that candle. Yes, I just randomly have a candle. Let's see. You were flying, but the safest bet on top of them to pop their balloons. That sounds so familiar. I can't place it, though. In any case, yeah. Not a lot going on today, Heels. Just going to be tidying more than anything else. I did strip. Okay, here it is. I had to strip the surface of this knife block, and I was talking about that just before you came in. So that looks to me like laminated birch, or actually I'm thinking ash now that I'm looking at it again. Yeah, it's definitely not birch. It's got a darker smell than birch. I'm thinking it's ash, but it could be. It almost smells like oak, but I'm not sure. And as I said before, it's some sort of. Bring that up again. My angle a bit better. Get my tool wall in the shot. Yeah, it's some sort of. It may be some sort of Asian wood that I can't identify by smell because we don't have Asian woods in Canada. Go figure. But my best guess is right now that it's birch. I'm not 100% sure, as I said. It's birch, ash, or oak. That's as much as I can narrow it down. Anybody said anything? No. Okay. So yeah, if we're going to stay on the topic of gaming for a little bit. What's your favorite game recently? Say in the last, well, we'll say 12 years, because I think it's been about that long since Skyrim came out, and that is my favorite game pretty much ever. Dave the Diver. Okay. Maybe I should put it this way then. What's the one game that you remember playing and loving all aspects of it? For me, my big focus isn't necessarily graphics, though I do like really nice graphics. For instance, I play a little bit of Grand Theft Auto 5 still. One of my favorite things to do is just get on top of one of the mountains or whatever and wait for certain times of day, sunset, sunrise, stuff like that, and just look at the graphics. They're beautiful. They're beautiful graphics. And Dave the Diver is a small indie game that came out a few weeks ago. Okay. Let me have a quick look for Dave the Diver. And, I mean, lately, Sultans have been doing kind of our hangouts, and our drunk streams, things like that. When we do chills, we've been playing Cards Against Humanity knockoff. Let's see here. Dave the Diver indie game. And you will notice that when I talk to my search function, I speak as if I'm talking to a slightly slow American. And I don't mean that in an offensive way, but that is how I feel about it when I'm slowing my my native dialect down, because Newfoundlanders tend to speak very, very quickly. Let's see. Promethean Healing, I played GTA 5, did that too. Yeah, GTA 5, it's kind of interesting because it was kind of bashing the woke before there was woke to bash. If you go back and you listen to some of the dialogue. Tosti says Dave the Diver is really good. Let me get some images up here. Heel says he loved driving the cars. Lamborghini Miura is Kino. Which one was the Miura? Was that the what was it called? The Infernus? Is that what it was called? Something like that? Red Dead. I played. Promethean Healing says he talked. It's perfectly fine. It's oftentimes better to speak slowly and let your brain kind of determine whether you're saying things you should than to let your mouth run away with you. Excuse me. Let's see. Tosti says Red Dead is a pretty great game. I haven't played either of the first two games. I did play Red Dead Redemption 2 and enjoyed it. wasn't a huge fan of it. I think I played through it maybe once or twice. Uh, I think partly because it didn't have quite as much of the same replayability factor. Certainly not as Skyrim, but even as GTA 5, which is kind of ironic since it's from the same studio. Uh, Speaking of studios, I'm planning to play one of the Fallout games. I believe it's New Vegas, is one that I'm probably going to pick up at some point. Because as I understand it, from what people have, yeah, and Tosti is saying, do it. Uh, from what I understand, New Vegas is a lot like Skyrim in terms of its replayability. Maybe the remake for Resident Evil 4. I've never been a big fan of the horror genre in games. So I'm just looking at this really quick here. Dave the Diver. This is kind of nice actually. This strikes me as the sort of thing that somebody made because they really loved making games and didn't really mind that they were pixelating a little. And that's one of the things I really like about modern games, uh, especially the indie level games. A lot of them are looking at gameplay versus graphics versus immersion, etc. Oh, let's move that away from my elbow so I don't spill coffee everywhere. Okay, Resident Evil 4 is not really horror. It's why you like it. It's a bit scary at times, but mainly an action thriller-ish game. I may have to look at it then, because I think I played Resident Evil 2 and 3, different friends, and not really that much my style of gaming. Treebeard quote from Lord of the Rings. Uh, Give me a little part of it, and I can probably remember it for you. Antasti says, one of the Resident Evil 4 games. Oh, you're talking about how the Ents speak slow and things like that. Damn. Give me 1 second. I do love having pretty much the sum total of human knowledge at my fingertips. I was an incredibly curious kid, so if you'd have been able to, oops. Treebeard quotes. Lord of the Rings movie series. Oof. Every time I tip my head, I blow the chroma. 30 plus best Treebeard quotes and lines from Lord of the Rings. Let's see what that is. No, blah, blah, blah. Go away. Orcs. Some call me. I am on nobody's side because nobody is on my side, little orc. You must understand, young hobbit, it takes a long time to say anything in Old Entish, and we never say anything unless it is worth taking a long time to say. Yeah, yeah. Excuse me. Promethean Healing says, literally me. You know, one of my favorite characters from fantasy fiction, I can't remember the character's name, but I believe he was in the Lost Swords series, which I think was Fred Saberhagen. Uh, I'm not 100% sure. But there's a character who, in one of the stories, who's described as taking a long time to speak his mind, and being a very slow thinker. But uh, he's not described as stupid or slow by any means. He's more careful about his words. And I remember thinking, that's probably a good way to be when I read that when I was a kid. And I'm just a kid at heart now. Let's see. Chess grandmasters are slow thinkers. I don't know if I'd necessarily say that, because I've played chess fast and slow against different people. And even playing at, I tend to play very fast. And having played, oh God, one fellow I played had been playing chess for 50 or 60 years. He was an older fella. A slow strategy, sure. But he used to love playing me because, and he did say this to me at one point, there were times when I would move almost immediately as soon as he was done moving, and he would giggle. And I looked at him once and I said, "Why are you laughing?" And I said to him, I said, "I can tell it's not derisive. So why are you laughing? What did I do that made you laugh?" He said, "It's how fast you move. It's," he said, "I can watch your face while you're thinking about your move. And I've played guys who've played longer than me." And remember, he'd played 50, 60 years at this point. And he said, "Their brains don't tick as fast as yours do. But you're on their level in terms of the strategy that you play at." And I was really kind of impressed, or heartened, or I felt a bit proud over that, because this guy never once lost to me. Not once in 700 games we played over the course of 5 or 10 years, or 5 or 6 years that I lived in the area where I'd play with him. And yeah, we used to play in a coffee shop. And yeah, we probably played 750 games. And it was always fun when I'd move and he'd go, "Huh?" Because I knew what he was thinking was that some of his friends who played very slow, like he had mentioned to me at one point that who played once a week, that they would make one a week on this one game. And somebody walking their dog, sorry. But he said that that guy's strategy and my strategy, we were on more or less the same level in terms of skill, but that my brain clicked so much faster than the other guys, or seemed to. He said it was almost like watching, how did he put it one day? It's like being used to playing a bunch of guys running, he put it in car forms. It's like watching somebody, oh, how did he put it? Essentially, it came down to basically calling my brain a Ferrari, which I thought was hilarious, because I'm really not super, super smart, but yeah. We're talking about chess and how thought processes work and stuff, honey. Anyway, I'm actually going to go, well, I'm going to have a cigarette and then I'm going to go do some work, because, well, I'm addicted. And, yeah, for those of you who don't know, it turns out that it is still possible to get menthols in Canada. No thanks to Justin Trudeau's policies. Because while Trudeau, what do you mean at this hour? I'm awake. But it is actually possible to get menthols still in Canada. Excuse me. Because while Trudeau has made it illegal for white people to sell them, he has not made it illegal for the natives to sell them. So you can actually buy them. You just can't resell them. But of course, the thing that really irritates me about that is Trudeau decided that white people couldn't sell menthol cigarettes in their shops anymore, because the minty flavor might encourage children to smoke. But it's fine for the natives, who Trudeau panders to constantly and uses as his virtue signaling puppets. Yeah. let's be honest, folks. If Newfoundlanders had a sexier costume, Trudeau would be friends with us. Our ethnic costume consists of rubber gear and a sou'wester. Oh yeah, and the vapes. Yeah, still perfectly legal to go and buy a cotton candy flavored vape, though. Yeah, and those things stink. I'm sorry, I hate the smell of most vapes. Uh, when I was in college recently, well, relatively recently, this is about 3-4 years ago now, when I did all the fucking flavors, yeah. Heel says he would guess that I have a good frontal lobe, which is where the highest level of thought tends to happen: planning, strategy, analytics, logistics, critical thinking, applying new knowledge, etc. Probably. I've always been extremely good with problem solving, and extremely good with improvisation. Which might explain why I like the show Whose Line Is It Anyway so much. But just to go back to... oh, well, now I've lost the train of thought. Oh, yeah, all the cigarettes and things like that. Yeah, Trudeau, of course, being the hypocrite that he is, tells white people, oh no, I'm going to protect your kids by not allowing you to buy mint-flavored cigarettes anymore. Oh, awesome. Okay, so you're going to stop kids from smoking? Yes. All over the country? Yes. Everywhere? Yes. Except the native reserves? Yes. But you talk about how you care about the natives so much all the time? Yes. Yeah. Yeah. It's virtue signaling of the worst kind. Because he's basically telling people, no, you can't have this because it's bad for you. And I really care about your people, so I'm going to let you keep doing it. He's the worst kind of favoritism showing father. He's like an abusive parent. That's how he's running the country. That's actually, wow. I think I may have stumbled on why Trudeau's such a dick. But what are you gonna do? I mean, think about it this way. There are great parallels between Biden and Trudeau, especially in their families. The senior member of the family who was or had been involved in politics for a very long time, was grooming the oldest son to follow them. And the oldest son ended up getting injured, or killed, actually, or dying, one way or another. And so, of course, the spare, for lack of a better term, we're talking about heir and spare in terms of royal terms, but it applies here. That was weird. What the hell do I have in my mustache? Anyway, the heir and the spare in terms of royal terms, are using royal terms, but it amounts to the same thing. But what was Hunter's older brother's name? Beau. When Beau Biden died, Hunter kind of got put into that role. I'll address that in a second, Heels. But I do think you're wrong. And not necessarily wrong the way you think I mean, or the way you'd expect, anyway. But when the elder Trudeau died, of course, Marcel, the next choice was Justin, who doesn't even have a French name, because he wasn't intended to be the next political member of the Trudeau family. He was doing teaching and being a rich kid knob. Finding himself. I don't know where exactly they found him, but I suspect it involved a bathhouse. I said it. Anyway. But both Hunter and Justin are obviously not well trained for the roles that have been thrust upon them. In the case of Biden, I don't think it's unfair to say that the corruption was the role that Beau was probably being trained to be, the business side of things. it's very obvious the Bidens are corrupt as balls. Right? It's also equally obvious that Trudeau, the younger Trudeau, was not trained the way that a monarch should be. He's got no sense of duty to his country. He's got no real love for his people. He's a communist. Now, his father, Pierre Elliott Trudeau, kind of leaned that way as well. He was power mad as fuck. To the point that he actually walked out of the constitutional negotiations because he was not being given his way. And God bless Brian Peckford, one of Newfoundland's former premiers, for having the balls to stand up to the man and go, no, stuff yourself. We're going to do this the right way, not the way you want it. And as far as I'm concerned, it still didn't really accomplish all that much. But it is what it is. And it's actually coming sunny, and the birds are singing, so who knows? It may actually get, well, it's probably going to get very humid here. But just to come back to what Promethean Heels said about quick brains, he said Trudeau has a high-performance brain. It's ultra lightweight. I will point this out. Two things. One, Trudeau obviously does not have a high-performance brain because he has such a high lack of self-awareness, like any leftist. But also, I caution people very strongly now about calling the people in charge, like Biden, like Trudeau, any of the people in the European Parliament, the higher ones, and people in the corporate sector who wield massive power, Gates, who else comes to mind? Well, that's a good enough example. But all of Zuckerberg, all these people, I will caution everyone very strongly. Don't think of these people as stupid because they're not doing what makes sense to you. They're not stupid, they're cunning. By and large, these people are evil. And when you call them stupid, you are basically taking your eye off a threat. You're dismissing them. Don't dismiss these people as meaningless. They're not. Unfortunately, especially in the case of Trudeau, they wield a massive amount of power they should not have and are not suited to hold. And in the case of Trudeau especially, not even trained properly to hold. But more than that, there's also the fact that in the case of someone like Hunter, that power that they've had thrust upon them, that sort of privilege and not exactly responsibility, but that prestige or that position of influence that they've had thrust upon them, they're not suited to it. They are the sort of people, there's an old adage that goes, power corrupts and absolute power corrupts absolutely. And I've formulated a corollary to that, and that's that power tends to attract the corruptible. Dear God, is that ever being shown very clearly in the case of Hunter and Justin Trudeau. And Heel says that's a good point. Yeah. It's never healthy to underestimate your opposition. I won't necessarily call him an enemy on this particular channel, this particular stream. And I do try to avoid politics somewhat on this stream, on this channel. What's going to be happening in the next little while as well on YouTube? Thank you. I'm glad you do agree with me, Heels. But what's going to be happening in the next little while on this channel is I'm going to try to refrain from politics and general real life stuff on this channel and try to move more. Tosti is back. Hi, Tosti. Welcome back. Didn't actually see you leave. Where'd you go? Tosti? What the hell? Where's the last comment from Tosti? Original and a remake. Okay. One of my plans. Oh, you got a phone call. Awesome. I hope everything is good. And Stormy says yes. Well said. Thank you very much, dear. But I'm going to try to avoid politics and black pills and things like that on this channel in the future. I'm thinking I'm going to dedicate my YouTube presence to doing readings, and shed stuff, just woodworking, things like that. And keeping content focused. Yeah, well, it's not just about keeping the content focused, it's about what's safe for the platform as well. I have to be very careful about what I say on YouTube. For example, I can't talk a lot about the COVID stuff. In fact, just saying the word COVID now probably has an algorithm triggering looking at me. And there's a lot of things I need to be able to say that I don't want to say on YouTube, because I want my YouTube channel to encourage people to come to my Rumble channel. Now, I have said it before, and I do mean it, that the moment there are more subscribers on Rumble than there are on YouTube, I'm probably going to give up on YouTube. That said, Rumble has a garbage live streaming system, except if you're on a PC. Mobile live streaming is garbage on Rumble. I don't know if you can even do it. But Promethean Healing says, I believe, as with all things, the integrity of your leadership must be maintained, repaired, etc. Just as a car needs to be keep it running indefinitely. You can keep a car lasting forever if you maintain, repair, and replace parts as needed. That actually brings up a good point, though. How long until it's not the same car? How many parts do you replace before you have a new car? I forget what that's called in philosophy. But, yeah, you're right. You can. Ardent becoming PC Master Race confirmed. No. I use my laptop, and I will eventually get a good desktop. But I want to be able to do editing and things like that. And right at this point, the PC, the computer that I have, that I do my usual Sunday, anything that I do from the other studio, because this is one of my studios, anything that I do from my other studio is generally done on a laptop. And it's not a particularly powerful laptop. That's one of the things that if you do subscribe, start PayPal, all the shilling stuff, part of that is intended to build savings towards getting a better desktop so that I can start editing videos, which means I'll have to train myself how to edit videos, which isn't that difficult. But also so I can do graphic rendering, things of that nature. Which, speaking of which, I'm actually looking at going back to school and doing something probably online, which will probably be something in the range of software development, video production, something like that, connected to the internet. Let's see. But yeah, just to finish the topic with Trudeau and any of these ideologues, you cannot underestimate them by calling them stupid. That would be akin to Hannibal's enemies if they had heard rumors that Hannibal was running elephants over the Alps, going, nobody would try that, you're off your head, etc. And of course, they ended up paying for it. It's that automatic reflex of nobody will do that thing that has caused the slippery slope argument to become proven. For example, let's say 10, 15 years ago when the gay marriage arguments were going on. Oh, if you allow men to marry each other, you're going to end up with men marrying animals. And of course, no, that'll never happen. Yeah. Looks at Japan. There's a guy married a toaster, right? Or some sort of body pillow or something. Like, it's really interesting to wonder, okay, if we had nuked Japan 3 times instead of twice, would we have anime or would we have something worse? That poster was the embodiment of femininity. Poster. Oh, I've missed something you said, I think, Toasty. Or Toasty, sorry. Poster was the embodiment of femininity. The guy married. Oh, I see. Okay. No, I said toaster, not poster. But yeah, the body pillow or whatever. Yeah, like. But yeah, we're seeing things on television, even terrestrial television or regular television, that 20 years ago people would have looked at and gone, what kind of weirdo are you, and refused to produce. Things like there's one show I think on TLC, which of course is the same network that gives us things like My 600 Pound Life, or my weird eating habit, or whatever the show is called, where or there's shows in Europe where they'll talk about people who are in love with objects. Like, what? No, that's a weird sexual fetish, and you should seek help. You should be seeking professional therapy. You shouldn't be the Dutch guy who's in love with bicycles, for example, and sexually in love with bicycles. You should be seeking that energy that you're spending on an inanimate object should be spent on another person. Let's see, cold on the outside, warm on the inside. Oh, toasty. And yes, Stormy, objects. I think somebody posted something in one of the Discords. I don't know if it was Discos, Monkeys, or Sultans, about objectophiles or objectosexuals or something like that. People who have a sexual attraction to inanimate objects. I'm sorry, I think that's a really sexy mallet, but I don't want to take it to bed. For example. Yeah. Let me see. Yeah, so I'm going to do a little bit of cleanup, and then I'm going to rearrange that wood, and that's probably going to be it for me for this morning. It's 7:36, and I'm starting to get hungry, so that's probably a good choice. So I just need to move my camera stand off to the side here, and lift that up so you guys can see the floor. It's a little low. Get the angle a bit better. There we go. And of course now I need to move a few things because I need to be able to get back in that corner. Okay, let's do it this way. I need to be able to get back into that corner. Okay, there's a box there. Okay, so this one's on one side. Well, that got really red for a second there. Okay, this needs to come over here. This is going to be the... Ouch. This is going to be the next project you guys will actually see me put together. This is a chair I've been restoring for my mother that I haven't gotten finished yet. A few of the machines that I have are going to come in handy for that. So, I need to move this thing. Okay, that's going to be a problem. So, we need to rearrange the way these are sitting. And the simplest way to do that is to get that to lip over. Oh, come now. It'll be difficult. Really? Okay. There. Now. I had it originally just looped the 4 clamps, I had them just looped through one loop on this strap. What I'm going to switch that around so that they're looped through both, and they're hanging about half a low, because right now they're hanging too low. There we are. Now I can move that table slightly to one side. There is quite a bit of weight on that table, so. Need about another 8 inches or so, I think. There we are. Well, that'll get a pump in you. Okay, so one of the straps I lost has been found. I also don't know why it took me so long to remember to open my windows. Oh, now there's a nice breeze coming through. Okay, so bandsaw gets moved. Okay, I am aware of how precariously balanced that is. I'm actually going to move another box to put back under it. Okay, there we go. Now I can reach my really essential tools. My broom and my dustpans. That's interesting. Okay. That will sit there. That will sit there. Well, there we go. Get over there now. Okay, I have to move a few more things out of this corner before I'm quite done. I do actually have some very thorough reorganization to do, because all that wood that's in that corner needs to come out of that corner and get inventoried. All the wood on the bottom of that table and on the bottom of this table also needs to be inventoried and set to size. I have some shelving that I can clear off, and I will be using that for my storage. Whew. For some of the longer pieces, anyway. The smaller pieces, I have a wooden bin here, and I could probably put some of the smaller stuff back in that table. But, well, that was good for clearing your throat, anyway. But for right now, all I really need to do is clean the floor. And this is, in fact, the task that I do probably the most, is cleaning. It's the least enjoyable, but also the most critically important, because where I work with wood, and I've seen shops that will allow massive buildup of wood chips, sawdust, things like that. Those are fire traps. People are regularly surprised when I tell them that, you know, a massive drift of sawdust can explode spontaneously. It can spontaneously combust. For the same reason that hay, if you leave it uncovered in a field of sun, a sun-struck field, can burst into flames. It's because the heat builds to a point within the pile that it reaches an ignition temperature. Also with sawdust, if you're aerosolizing it, if you're blowing it into the atmosphere a lot, any open flame, any open spark can cause it to explode, or what amounts to explode. Oh, that's what that is. And one of the other reasons I need to clean under this table is because there's a lot of spiders. I suspect a nest or an egg sac has been disturbed. I'm getting a bunch of very small spiders in here. It's gotten less the last couple of days since I've started removing them, but there's still quite a few of them, so I'm going to get that wood out from under that table now, go through that, get rid of the box that it's sitting in, because I suspect the box is actually what encouraged the spiders. Okay, I'm going to do this again, because I'm going to use the top of that table for that bit of work here. So I'm going to start pulling pieces out of that. What the hell is that? Oh, that's not good. Okay, nothing else is going to fall off of that. And I'm very glad that I actually took the time to wrap those pieces, because it would have kept them from suffering from the humidity and from, well, when things like that happen, keeps them from getting beat up. So we will go with the surface there, and I'll try to explain what everything is as I'm going. So this is a piece of hickory. There should be a hickory mark on it. There isn't. But this is was a hammer handle, a maul, a sledgehammer. But what I'm going to be turning it into is going to be a practice sword. I have 2 of these and 2 shorter ones, which are in here somewhere. But in the meantime, I'm going to just take piece by piece. This is just pressure treated wood, probably spruce, which I think will get turned into Dresden Files signs. This piece, I'm not 100% sure what I might do with this yet. I could turn this into any number of things. I'm thinking toys possibly as well. So that goes back there. And as I'm taking each piece up, I'm having a quick visual inspection just to make sure there's no spiders on it. Found some spiders. This, I believe, is a piece of mahogany. I need a knife. There we are. Yeah, that's mahogany. So that's an old piece of furniture that I tore apart. Again, this will probably be some little craft level idea. But that also goes with, excuse me, there's some pieces here that are from the same piece. It was a 70s cabinet of some kind. I don't remember exactly what. May have been a turntable cabinet, but what will be done with that is there'll probably be the frame for a desk or some sort of cabinet. Who knows? Anyway, there's 2 more pieces of mahogany. Actually, no, I think this might be walnut. No, it's mahogany. And just to make sure there's no spiders on it. This is some reclaimed wood. That's why it's the gray color that it is. It's been weathered rather heavily. And this will probably get turned into, I don't know yet, but something with a nice pattern in it. Again, that's one of the good things about working with reclaimed wood and being a creative individual. I could turn that into any number of things. This is a piece of spruce, I believe. Yeah, that's spruce. And this is going to end up being probably something very small. Possibly an accent piece for another piece of furniture. I could turn this into drawer pulls or any number of other things. So that goes over here. For those of you who were actually watching when I was attempting to make flutes, you'll recognize the juniper. Let me just get this out of my way. There we go. So you'll recognize the juniper. That's interesting. That's either paint or blue rot. And I think it's blue rot. Unfortunately, it might be through the entire piece and I might have to get rid of it. Let's have a look here. So just to show you what I'm talking about when I say blue rot, just here on the sapwood, and it hasn't gotten into the heartwood, so I may only have to discard the sapwood to save the piece. But that should only be surface mold, I think. And I'm being careful about how I scrape it so that I don't make it airborne. So yeah, that's just a bit of surface mold. So that's really no real big concern, considering especially that that end is probably going to be gone. So one of the things I do have to do to avoid that spreading is to clean these pieces up, get the bark off of them. And that's probably what was the source of my spiders, to be honest. And you can see the blue is starting on this piece as well. Very mild. but those are still very salvageable pieces. And I have a few more pieces, all of which, except for this piece has some blue on that end, none on that end. And the same thing, just a little bit of blue mold. It's nothing dangerous that I'm aware of, so. But what it should do is definitely give me the impetus to get working on this stuff. And now that I have a sander and a few other different pieces, I should point that out. I mean a bench sander. This device here, which of course is not on a stand yet. That's one of the other projects that's upcoming rather quickly. Yeah, once I have that, then I can get all that sorted out and go to work on that. Another piece of the spruce. Now, this is a very cleaned piece of birch, actually. I think it's birch. I would say it's birch. You can tell it's birch because it's got, let me see if I can get that to focus. My hand out of the shot, maybe. No, okay, it's not focusing. But you can tell by the grain pattern and the color that it's birch. This is another piece of mahogany. Actually, no, this is oak. Possibly cherry. No, this piece is oak. You can tell by the checking. The dashed nature of the checking. Excuse me. That had a couple of spiders on it. Some more juniper. Actually, I think that's the last of the juniper. And then I have some oak table legs that I salvaged, which are actually made of oak, but it's composited oak. I can actually show you what I'm talking about, because last night I took one of the ends here and worked down a bit. So you can see from this angle it is oak. And you can see from here, you can see a little bit of the lamination line there. It's much more clear if I show you this end. You can see that that's made of at least 3 pieces of oak. Though I suspect it's actually probably more. And what that is, that's a byproduct of furniture making. When a company is making true hardwood furniture, which is solid single pieces of hardwood, they inevitably end up with scraps, and it may not even be the same company that purchased those scraps to use to make other stuff. What we're talking about then is cost savings. Generally, they also end up with the ability to say it's solid wood, which technically is true, or they will call it hardwood, which is also technically true, but it's not true solid hardwood. And that's one of the things with furniture making that really irritates me. And I do see I'm getting some more chats in. Just give me a moment to get rid of that box, and I will talk to you guys. I'm not seeing any spiders at all anymore, so I think the few that I picked up were the last lingerers in the box. And I think the ones I've been clearing from my shop the last little while were probably the ones that had hatched and left. So, on the upside, no more spiders. On the downside, I need to get rid of this box, because if it's drawing spiders, it may very well have silverfish or any number of other pests in it. So, that's got to go. So now, I am going to go to the garbage can, the dumpster with this, and dump it. And I will be right back and sit down, have a smoke and a bit of water and a chat with you guys, and then I'm going to wrap it up. So give me about 30-40 seconds after I get out the door and I'll be back. And it is starting to get very humid. Okay, so when I come back, I'll be scrolling through chat and catching up, and then getting ready to wind up. So I'll be back in a moment. Okay, so that's that morning's bit of work done, and I've made yet more progress on getting things. No, there we go. My garbage can tried to fall over, so I had to kick it. Didn't. Which, for the record, is not a practice you should use to keep your friends from falling over when they're drinking. Okay, let's get this table over here in front of the camera, or at least in front of the chair between me and the camera. So there is the full glory of my tool wall on display, or at least most of the full glory of it. There's a folding saw, hex saw, or frame saw, band saw, back saw rather than band saw, a buck saw, which is also what this is, though it's a smaller version, axe, hatchet, machete, back saw, actual back saw. Yeah, this is not a back saw. That's a, you can also call it a frame saw or a buck saw. Band saw, utility saw. It's a cross-cut rip saw. Chisel, 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 chisel. 2 tapes, nail puller right there. That's a Japanese pull saw, which I've actually used a little bit now, and I see the attraction, but I think I'd rather have a good dovetailing saw rather than something that flexible. But that is good for flush cuts. So, of course, plane, tiny plane, files, scrapers, pry bars, spoke shaves, hammers, staple gun. Okay, let's see what everybody has said here. Okay, objects. Callum says, hey, stop by to drop a like, pay my respects, have a fun hangout, guys. Morning, Callum. That was quite some time ago, I think. 7:54, and it is currently 8:02, so it's been 7-8 minutes. Stormy says she's leaving. Oh, okay, yes, I understand why Stormy is leaving. She's on her way over here. So I am going to have one last smoke with you guys, if there's anyone still in chat. It looks like there's not, so this will be me screeching into the void, which is fine. Trying to clean off the surface of that table is not working. And when did Stormy say she was leaving? About 5 minutes ago. Okay. So I will have a non-mentholated cigarette and go inside the house. Probably go get a shower. I'm definitely getting breakfast, though. I'm very hungry. Oh, and I've been going for almost 2 hours anyway. Awesome. If the weather is not too nasty this afternoon, and this evening, I will most likely do another stream. That will be the final. Oh, I missed something. Just a moment. I missed those 3 pieces. And I really need to get these pieces out because I need to make sure there are no spiders on these. Okay, looks like we're spider free, which is nice. I'll grab my dirty brush. And yes, it is in fact my dirty brush. Because this is the brush that will interact with the floor and any other surface in the shed or in the workshop. rather than working pieces. Because when you're working on a piece, you don't want to use the same brush for clean and dirty work. Because with a dirty brush, you risk actually having wood, rock chips, any number of other things in it. And putting that on a piece that you're just finishing can actually result in creating more work by putting scratches or any number of things on it. And while that is a relatively soft brush, it's not as soft as some of the other brushes I have. I have two brushes specifically for finished work. Now I do realize well, screw you too. I'm currently screeching into the void, but that doesn't really matter. As I said, I am wrapping up anyway. I do need to have some water though. That's something you should keep in mind when you're working in a very humid environment. Just because you're sweating doesn't mean that water is coming from the environment. And it's also good to replenish your electrolytes and things like that. I have a variety of salted foods in the house. I'm most likely going to make breakfast out of some dry Napoli sausage sticks and Swiss cheese. Excuse me just a second while I get this burp out. There. I see I've got another watcher again, so do feel free to make yourself known in chat. And, oh, ow. Shit. I had to stretch so hard to get this thing between my fingers that I actually ended up, as the expression goes, rolling a rib over. It's really more of a stretch cramp in my side. And it's already easing anyway. But yeah, the separation of the two brushes is because you have a brush for everything and then a separate brush, which ideally should be softer, for brushing off your work. Now, some people will say, oh no, you just use an air gun to blow off your work. You can get stuff in your airline that will cause chips and scratches as well. So, no, you're far better off using either a soft cloth or a soft brush. I prefer a brush because I can immediately clean the brush and put it back where it belongs in a relatively dust-free, relatively safe place. Or clean and dust-free. With the dirty brush, I can literally, as I'm working, drop it in the floor, not feel bad about it, pick it up, and immediately keep cleaning whatever I'm cleaning with it. Because I'm not using it on finished or work that's in the process of being finished. For example, if I were using a sander to clean off one of these hickory sticks, I would not brush it with my dirty brush. I would go instead to the clean brush. And actually, I think I have two clean brushes. And I can show you those. So this blue plastic one, which is nylon, and obviously very soft because I can make the bristles wave back and forth, and they're very, well, in some cases, loose, which is also a problem you want to avoid if you can, because if you're brushing something that's slightly wet, which you shouldn't be, you can end up leaving the bristles behind. And that can also happen with something you've freshly sanded or what have you. In any case, that's the very soft brush. And I do have a very stiff one as well, which is much smaller. And that one, and I have to be careful about laying this down. I don't want to put it on my pants. But this one is much stiffer and came in a pack with a steel brush and a couple of brass brushes. This is really good if you need to get into a corner, a tight spot, what have you. But again, this is the sort of thing you would be very careful about using on a completely finished piece, because as stiff as these bristles are, and they're somewhat rigid and rough, you could risk damaging the finish that you've put on a piece. Now, when I say finish, I mean the final sanding. If you choose to coat it with something, a varnish, paint. If you're doing paint, you really don't need to worry too much about scratches. Paint will fill scratches, which is part of the reason you'll see home handymen, home builders use paint for final surfaces. It's because, well, it doesn't show scratches beneath the paint if you put on enough layers. And paint tends to be a little more durable as a finish, especially around children or liquids, things like that. But very rarely will you see me finish a piece with paint. You may see me do, I have a piece there that is intended for one of Stormy's kids, and that piece will probably be getting the spray paint treatment. In fact, I may actually do that as part of a live stream because it's really just a pretty thing for her room. And it's only because I happened across it at a thrift store that I'm doing it. I may end up in future building things specifically for her other kids as well. A couple of things I can think of already. But in any case, folks, that's going to be it for me for this morning. I may be back this afternoon. I may be back this evening. But for right now, this is going to be me signing off. So, as always, I hope you're having a good day. I hope you continue to have good days. And rise again until lambs become lions. Bye-bye.